and welcome to Live with Lewis for 28 October 2004. We're broadcasting to you live today from the campus of the University of Mary, just a few miles south-southeast of the town of Bismarck, which you may be able to see in the distance, actually just over my left shoulder. And we'll be showing you some more footage of that area just behind the college. In the next few minutes of the show, you'll be able to see some more of the town of Bismarck. We're probably about 5 to 7 miles outside of the city center of Bismarck, North Dakota. And we're pleased to have you joining us today. Again, my name is Scott Mandrell, portraying Meriwether Lewis for the Discovery Expedition of St. Charles, Missouri. And we'd like to welcome you to our next to last broadcast from the trail for this year. This part of the expedition will be coming to you continually throughout the winter with ongoing broadcasts. But this is our next to last broadcast as we make our way with the wooden boats up to Fort Mandan. Curiously enough, today, the 28th of October, 2004, is the 200th anniversary of really when the captains, our two famous captains, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, really had essentially identified the area, the general area that they would be establishing their winter quarters in. And we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout today's broadcast. So it's interesting that we're coming to you from what has been somewhat of a static location for us as well for the last week. We've moved very little throughout the last week, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but in no small part rather, because of the National Signature event. And what you're seeing behind me right now is part of the National Signature event. We're here at the campus of the University of Mary, and you see erected behind me 4 earth lodges, and those earth lodges were constructed here on the campus as part of the National Signature event commemoration and celebration here. And the earth lodges you see were constructed by the North Dakota National Guard, and those earth lodges will be on display here throughout the duration of this event, and then they will be moved to various locations, including Newtown at Fort Berthold and some other locations where interpretation of the traditional life of the Hidatsa Mandan and Arikara people will continue. I'd like to get a little bit of our regular business out of the way for this morning. We'd encourage you, if you have questions and comments throughout today's broadcast, to send them to us at lewisandclark@clayton.k12.mo.us. That's LEWISANDCLARK at CLAYTON.K12.mo.us. Lewis and Clark at Clayton.K12.mo.us. And if we can't get to those questions during the course of today's broadcast, we will answer them at our earliest convenience, and we'll get back to you and try to answer your questions and share your comments with other viewers in the future at some point. Of course, if you're not watching today's broadcast live and you'd like to send questions and comments based upon an archival viewing of this, we encourage you to do so, and that address would be good for that as well. As we do each week, we talk about what happened to the original expedition 200 years ago, and then we're going to take a look at a little bit at what happened to us over the course of the last 7 days, as well as we continue journey up the Missouri River this year. 200 years ago, when we came to you last time, it was the 21st, and we talked to you a little bit about some things that were going on downriver from here. We were just down at Kimball Bottom, an area actually that would be just off your screen to the left, if you could imagine that right now. In fact, I'm looking at that area just this way, and we were down there for several days. And at that point, we were, as we are now, just a few days ahead of the timeline of the original expedition in order to satisfy the demands that are put on us to honor the signature event here and participate in this. But as we talked about last year, what had happened during the course of those days ending the 21st, we will now sort of bring ourselves back into sync now. And on the 21st, the day of our last broadcast, the original expedition arrived at the mouth of the Heart River. And you're going to see a little footage of the Heart River today when we show you the B-roll of what's happened to us. And they really start essentially the final approach, as it were, to their winter quarters. On the 21st, the Corps arrived at what was the Heart River, what is the Heart River. And actually the Heart River, if you look on the far horizon there, you'll see a little blockhouse that's set up there, and that's a historic blockhouse we're going to show you some footage of later. And then you'll see a small elevation of what appear to be mountains just there. Well, right below that, the Heart River enters the Missouri River, and that's where the Corps arrived on the 21st of October, 1804. From this point forward, they're encountering almost on a daily basis either the ruins of an Arikara or Hidatsa Mandan village, or they're actually encountering Hidatsa Mandan or some element of maybe of an Arikara community. So almost on a daily basis now, they're coming into what 200 years ago was also an urban area, much like Bismarck is today. Throughout the course of this week, a number of things have happened. Curiously enough, on the 24th, the 22nd, the Corps encountered a band of 12 Sioux warriors who were making their way north up the river. Now, it's odd that that should happen because on the first day of this signature event, we also had another encounter with the Sioux. And as you know, that there are some demonstrators who have been voicing a very strong opposition to the Bicentennial because of their concerns about the perpetuation of sort of a glorification of Western expansionism on the part of Europeans. And so the ironies are very similar there. But on the 22nd, they encountered a group of 12 Sioux warriors who were making their way past them, and they assumed that they were going toward the Minatari or the Hidatsa villages, and indeed they were. And over the next couple of days, they find that the small war party has actually wreaked havoc on a number of the villages. They have seen the Gros Venture or the Big Bellies. They have ran into a group of Assiniboine, and each time they have stolen horses, killed someone, and in fact a man by the name of Menard, a French trader who had lived among the Hidatsa Mandan for nearly 20 years, had been murdered. There were some European traders, some Englishmen who were moving around the area. So they were coming into a very dynamic place 200 years ago at this time. And ultimately, by the time they reached this date in history 200 years ago, they're in consultation now with Black Cat, the Grand Chief of the Hidatsa, and they're starting to negotiate and to enter into conversations about the prospect of keeping the expedition here for the winter and establishing some sort of permanent residence here for the course of the winter. And so that's basically what happened 200 years ago. There's, of course, much detail to that. They start to make observations. One of the observations that they make just above this area is they recognize they make note of a tree, a sacred tree, where the Indians who live here make some religious practices. They talk about scarification, piercing, and those sorts of things. And what, in fact, they're describing is something that they had not really witnessed downstream, but it was a common practice among among plains tribes of the northern plains, the Sioux, the Hidatsa Mandan, and others. And that was the sun dance, of course. And this was one of the early observations and recording of the practice of the sun dance. They also talk about seeing individuals who are missing fingers or have certain types of piercing on them, and particularly in the instance of missing digits or fingers. Part of the reason for that was the fact that they learned that among the practice of the native people at that time was, in the event that a family member or a close person to an individual died, sometimes that they would sever a finger as a sign of empathy or grief in that particular instance. So there's some very powerful cultural experiences that the Corps is having, and interestingly enough, that's what this signature event is all about. We talked about it a little bit last week with Tracy Potter, who's the director of this signature event. The signature event here is called the Circle of Cultures, and so much of the influence here, the importance and the dynamic that's being forwarded here at this event is just that, a greater understanding of the cultural traditions and the diversity of the cultures who inhabited this area 200 years ago. It's again important to understand that the Hidatsa Mandan, the Arikara, as well as the Sioux and others below, but particularly in this region here, a large, essentially urban native community with many, many thousands of people living here, that this was a center of trade not only for North America, but the trade routes that were here actually, because of the connection through the French and English traders and even Spanish forays into this area, military forays and some trade with Spain, that this community 200 years ago was already, for some 100 years practically, had been engaged in international trade via the trade route of the Missouri River and the Assiniboine River that leads into Canada from not too far from here. So it's an exciting place, an exciting time, as it was 200 years ago, and we're going to talk about some of the things that have happened to us and the things that we've seen as well, and we're going to go to some B-roll, and we'll share some of those things with you as well.
And here you can see the grounds for the signature event. Many of the tents of the federal agencies and other civil and non-for-profit organizations set up high atop the hilltop here overlooking the Missouri River below at the University of Mary campus. And here 4 of the earth lodges that have been constructed by the North Dakota National Guard as part of the display area for the signature event, the Circle of Cultures. And each one of these lodges, has an interpreter discussing the different communities that lived in them. And here, once again, the protesters, the Stop Lewis and Clark protesters, who were in attendance as well to discuss the Native American perspective on the Lewis and Clark expedition. Inside the hall of the opening day, we have Governor Hoeven, Tex Hall, the chairman of the United Affiliated Tribes, and here Gerard Baker, former head of the Lewis and Clark Trail, and Amy Mossett, of course, Hidatsa Mandan, who is largely responsible for the interpretation of Sacagawea, and of course involved with the Circle of Tribal Advisors. Here you see the keelboat leaving the Southport Marina, where it had stayed for many days in the deep pool there in preparation for the signature event period. And here you see us making our way out. There was a sandbar that blocked our entrance into the river here, and we had to power through it. And as you can see, Churchill Clark and Joshua Loftus there on the bow, prepared to there in the boats. U.S. there, the boat tilting just a little bit as it rises over the sandbar. And there was an exciting re-entry into the Missouri River after several days in the harbor there. And the boat safely made it into the Missouri River once again for its final ascent to the mouth of the Knife River and the Fort Mandan historic site. And it was a happy moment to get back on the river itself and out of the harbor there. And of course the pirogues also joining the keelboat at Fort Lincoln State Park, again just several miles south of the city center of Bismarck, North Dakota. And kind of an overcast day, but a beautiful day on the river, as most of them are in one way or the other, and a very picturesque setting here. As you can see the river much as it would have looked 200 years ago. And here we all are once again, the three boats together again at Fort Abraham Lincoln. A very historic site, and we're going to see a little bit more of that here in just a moment. The three boats been moored for several days here at Fort Abraham Lincoln as part of the signature event at a rather pristine camp environment here where folks can really get a good idea of what the expedition must have looked like 200 years ago. And Lynn Smokey Hart, Native American and African American member of the Corps, portraying York and telling the story of Native Americans, particularly Sioux. Lynn is a member of the Yankton Sioux tribe as well as being of African descent, and has an interesting story to tell. A former bullfighter himself, and playing there with bison and Tom Iyer there on the shore. And of course each and every day a beautiful day on the river as we raise the flag the next morning at the morning colors, raising the 15-stripe, 15-star, Star-Spangled Banner to the top of the mast. And there in the distance you can see the capital of North Dakota, the tall building there on the center of your screen. And you can see the river moving there. The river actually has been rising somewhat, which we're happy about. Tony Holbrook chopping wood and doing a fine job of it. Oh! And of course, among other things, the many display items we have set up here. And this John Fisher from Idaho, member of the Bitterroot Corps of Discovery and the Discovery Expedition, with his excellent, most excellent medicine chest and display of all the medical equipment and medicines used on the original expedition. Tony Holbrook, in addition to being a fine woodcutter and excellent surveyor as well, and using the surveying equipment of the time, and there he is portraying much as Clark must have done 200 years ago, taking his celestial observations with Private Gibson in the person of Dick Prestold, recording those celestial observations, those readings that Tony is taking there. And as you can see, that's probably what they would have looked like 200 years ago. And of course, John Hernandez, another Native American member of the Discovery Expedition, entertaining and teaching folks around the campfire as he performs and sings traditional Native American songs on the hand drum, and another very interesting presentation for the crowd here. And here we are at actually the site of Fort Lincoln. This is the cavalry post at Fort Lincoln, where Custer, and there's Custer's house, the last house that Custer lived in before he left Fort Lincoln en route to a place called Little Bighorn. And here we are inside of Custer's house, decorated as it was when Custer lived here with his wife, again at his last command when he was commander of Fort Lincoln. And here we see up on high on the hilltop above Fort Lincoln, the cavalry post was the infantry component, the infantry post known as Fort Lincoln also, but originally known as Fort McKean. And this site overlooking the Mississippi River, built in 1872. Ultimately, this entire site was abandoned in 1881, when it was no longer as important to the military chain of forts on the frontier. And you can see the high commanding ground that Fort McKean, or as it was known shortly thereafter, Fort Abraham Lincoln, did appear. And the grounds are quite educational. There are many displays that give folks a little bit of insight into what life here on this extreme northwestern corner of the frontier would have been like at the late 19th century. And as well, one of the interesting things is here at Fort Lincoln. Fort Lincoln was actually built on the site of an abandoned village that Lewis and Clark recorded, Village on a Slant. And this was a site that was already abandoned when Lewis and Clark passed by here, and you see some reconstructed earth lodges again here at Village on a Slant, or On a Slant Village as it is referred to. And this also shares the same grounds, the same park grounds as Fort Lincoln here just south of Bismarck. The trail behind me leads from the Village on a Slant, Mandan Hidatsa village. Actually, it was a Mandan village that abandoned about 25 years prior to Lewis and Clark's arrival in this area, as we saw the footage from just a few moments ago. Our camp is located on the banks of the Missouri, just a few hundred yards to my north from this location. Today, unlike most of our broadcasts, rather than having a specific guest that we speak with throughout the course of the interview, today we're going to do something a little bit unusual. As you know, the Discovery Expedition is nearing the completion of its second year on the trail. We're very excited about all the things that we've been able to show you this year. We're still going to have broadcasts over the winter. We hope that you'll be able to join us for those. But one of the great things about this week, as we talked about the signature event, is we've had many of our crew members and individuals who have been instrumental in making the Discovery Expedition's exercise a success have joined us for this culminating event this year here in the Bismarck, North Dakota area. And so what we thought we'd do today is give each of those individuals an opportunity to introduce themselves. So if we could have you go to that, Jim, at this point, we'll see some of the folks that make the Discovery Expedition a success.
Okay, my name is David Kane. I'm from Raytown, Missouri, just outside of Kansas City, Missouri. I play John Coulter, the senior John Coulter with this outfit, and I've been with the Discovery Expedition since 1996.
My name is Bryant Boswell. I'm from Star, Mississippi. I portray Private Robert Frazier, and I've been with the Discovery Expedition since the year 2000.
I'm Neil Corey from Cook, Nebraska, southwest Nebraska, and I portray Hugh McNeil, and I joined in 2001.
I'm Ed Scholl from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm portraying Private Hugh Hall. Private Hall is from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, so I'm portraying a fellow Pennsylvanian.
Hey, my name's Albert Williams. I'm a blacksmith. I portrayed Private John Shields. I'm from Brazil, Indiana. I joined the expedition in 1999.
My name is Gary Ulrich. I portray Private William Warner. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I've been with the Corps since 2001.
Hello, I'm Eric Davis. I'm from Marseilles, Illinois, and I portray Private Richard Windsor.
My name is Jerry Hebenstreit. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I portray Peter Weiser.
Hi, my name is Jack Simmons. I'm from San Diego, California, and I'm very privileged to play Charles Hébert, a French engagé. I've been with the Corps since August of last year. Thank you.
I'm Stephen White from Jefferson City, Missouri. I usually portray Alexander Carson, one of the engagés, but today I am Private Joseph Whitehouse.
Hi, my name is Brian Deering. I portray Private Howard. I'm from Athens, Ohio, Ohio University, and I have been with the organization since April 5th of 2004. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Harris. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I portray Private John Potts. I joined the Discovery Exhibition in May in St. Charles, and it's a real honor to be a little part of this.
Hi, I'm Mike Dotson from Brookston, Indiana, formerly of Joliet, Illinois. I was recruited into the expedition in October 2003. I portray Private Alexander Willard.
Howdy, folks. My name's John Fisher. I portray the medical officers of the expedition. I'm a medical specialist. I'm a member of Hog Heaven Muzzleloaders out of Idaho, and I live at Coulter's Creek along the Clearwater River. and I've been with the Discovery Expedition for about a year and a half.
My name is John Forbes. I'm from Shawnee, Kansas, a suburb of Kansas City. I portray Rourke, one of the French engagés that helped the captains bring the boats up the river.
Hi, my name is Noel Stasiak, and I portray the most handsome member of the group, Private John Collins. I was recruited at Kaskaskia. Officially, I came on board in 1998 at St. Charles. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I believe I'm the only U.S. Navy CB on board. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Iyer. I'm from Lewiston, Idaho, right on the Lewis-Clark Trail, and I portray Sergeant John Ordway. And I belong to the group as of 2001 when I got a phone call from a guy named Scott Mandrell. And we did the dugouts on the Columbia in 2002 to prove that you can make it down the river.
Hi, my name's Ed Falvo. I play the role of George Gibson, one of the Kentucky recruits. I live right nearby Elizabeth, Pennsylvania, where the group started and where the original keelboat was built in 1803. And I became a member of the Corps of Discovery at Big Bone Lick State Park in Kentucky a year ago.
Who you are? I portray Alexander Hamilton Willard, who was the assistant blacksmith 200 years ago. My name is Ken Altergott. I hail from Oconto, Wisconsin, 5 miles north of Green Bay, and I'm the pilot and the captain on the keelboat, and I'm very proud to be with these men.
My name is Jim Tucker. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I portray Silas Goodrich, who is the fisherman of the group. I've been with the Corps approximately 3.5 months, and I feel it's a privilege to be here.
My name is J. Michael Moore. I portray the marvelous character, Pierre Cruzat. I joined the Corps in Harper's Ferry, and I've been involved on the Ohio and now here in the Missouri. I'm originally from Oregon.
I'm Richard Prestolt. I'm from Bridgewater, New Jersey, and I portray George Gibson, one of the 9 recruits from the Kentucky area. I've joined the group in September of 2000 when they were in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania, when they were doing their Ohio River Shakedown cruise.
Hello, my name's Eric Huber. I'm from Mount Washington, Kentucky. I portray Joseph Fields, and I joined up in the summer of 2002.
Hi, my name is Derek Biddle. I'm from Rocheport, Missouri. I'm portraying John Dame and having a wonderful time.
I'm Rob Durrett. I'm portraying Private William Bratton. I'm from near Crawfordsville, Indiana, and I've been with the Corps since October of '02.
Steve Wickham from Springfield, Missouri. I portray Private John Coulter, and I've been in the organization since May 12th.
My name is Peyton C. Clark. Everyone calls me Bud. I portray my ancestor, Captain William Clark. Captain Clark is my great-great-great-grandfather. I've been involved with the Discovery Expedition since 1992 when we took the first keelboat in the parade in Washington, D.C. for the 500-year celebration.
Hi, my name is Lynn Hart. I portray York. I'm from Watertown, South Dakota. I'm an enrolled member of the Yankton Sioux tribe in Greenwood, South Dakota. It's an honor to portray York. I think his story needs to be told, and that's why I'm committed to try to do my best ability to do that.
My name is Walter Gotch. I've been with the Corps of Discovery St. Charles 2 years, and I'm portraying Corporal Richard Warfington.
My name's Lance J. Rotkin. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I portray Private Robert Frazier, who was a civilian recruited by Captain Lewis, interested in the expeditions when he was recruited into the United States Army as a private.
Yes, my name is Jim Stanley. I portray Private Richard Windsor with the Discovery Expedition. I'm from Macon, Kansas. I've been with the group since 1999. I've been on the river since then, did parts of the Ohio and did a part in South Dakota prior to the Bicentennial, and started out of Elizabeth, Pennsylvania in 2003, and we've been doing it ever since.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Nathaniel H. Pryor. My AKA is Norman Bowers. I'm from Maryland Heights, Missouri.
I play the role as second squad leader or second mess leader and have been in the organization for 3.5 years, and I certainly enjoy being part of living history.
I'm Churchill Clark. I portray Private Clark, the imaginary expedition member. William Clark's my fourth great grandfather. I come from Denver, Colorado. I've been with the organization since the 11th of May of this year.
Hello, I'm Jim Rasher. We're here at Fort Abraham Lincoln, and I have been with the organization since 1997. I've had the privilege of learning to be a boat builder from Mr. Glenn Bishop, who started this all probably 25 or 28 years ago. I live in St. Peters, Missouri. I've been at St. Charles area since 1980 and been working on the boat since 1997 with Glenn.
Greetings, my name is Tony Holbrook. I'm from Tarleton, Ohio, and I portray a gentleman by the name of John B. Thompson, and John B. Thompson was picked up in one of the Army posts along the river on the way to St. Louis, and he was trained in surveying, we know, and he helped Clark do some of the surveying along the way. They don't know much about him before or after, mentioned a few times during the trip.
My name is Sid Stoffels. I'm from California. I portray Private Robert Fraser, and the reason for that is that he switched from the returning party to the Going West party on October 8th, and that's the day that I officially joined on the river.
My name is John Hess. I'm from Somerset, California. Just joined the expedition this year and just joined the boat expedition yesterday. I portray Patrick Gass.
Hello, my name is Josh Loftus, and I'm from Belleville, Illinois. And I'm privileged to play my ancestor and fifth grade uncle, George Shannon, with the Discovery Expedition of St. Charles, Missouri, and look greatly forward to the next couple years with this expedition.
Hello, my name is John Simorosti. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm portraying John Coulter, who was from Maysville, Kentucky. I joined the Discovery of Expedition of St. Charles about 2-3 years ago, but this is my actual first trip with the men. I've been on the crew for about 5 days now, heading up toward Fort Mandan, and hopefully we'll rejoin the crew later next year.
Yes, my name is Charles Knowles. I'm representing Francois Rivette. He was a French engagé. He was one of the oldest members of the expedition, who only went up as a boatman. After reaching the Mandan village and they camped over the winter, he returned in the spring in his own canoe. I'm from Moscow, Idaho. I'm a member of the Governor's Lewis and Clark Trail Committee in Idaho. I've only been a member of the expedition for a very short time. It's an extreme honor to be part of it. Thank you.
Once again, thanks for joining us for Live with Lewis for the 28th of October, 2004, our next to last broadcast from the trail for the year 2004. Please join us throughout the winter as we continue to broadcast both Live with Lewis and curriculum-based video conferences. We hope that you've enjoyed what we've been able to bring to you this year, and until next time, we proceed on.